It happens in the quiet hours, when the world is asleep and the noise of the day has died down. The phone stops buzzing. The streets grow silent. The masks people wear in the daylight, confidence, distraction, indifference, fall away. And there you are, alone, with your thoughts, your fears, your unspoken dreams. Midnight has a way of stripping everything down to truth. It is the hour when excuses sound hollow, when distractions vanish, and when your soul whispers the question you've been running from. What are you doing with your life? It is in that hour that the midnight declaration is born. Not shouted, not broadcast, not shared on social media, but whispered to yourself in a voice that trembles with both fear and conviction. It is the promise you make when no one is watching, when applause cannot hear you, when validation cannot see you. It is the raw covenant between you and your destiny. And that promise, if you dare to make it, can reshape the course of your life. Think of Abraham Lincoln, sitting by candlelight in the back of a small cabin, scribbling words in secret. The world did not know his name yet. He was no president, no giant of history. He was a man wrestling with failure, with poverty, with obscurity. But in those midnight hours, he made silent declarations that he would rise above ignorance, that he would fight for justice, that he would not let his life dissolve into nothingness. And those declarations, made in darkness, became the light that guided a nation through its darkest hour. Or consider Thomas Edison, experimenting alone, often until dawn. Thousands of failures, countless burnt filaments, endless ridicule. No audience clapping for his persistence. No guarantees of success. Just a man in the midnight laboratory of life, declaring silently, "I will not quit until the darkness bends to light." That was his midnight declaration. And because he kept it, the world now lives in brilliance. The midnight declaration is not about others. It is about you. When the lights are off, when no one sees the work, when there is no recognition, will you still choose to rise? Will you keep the promise to yourself that says, "I will not waste this life. I will not betray my potential. I will not let fear chain me to mediocrity"? This promise is sacred because it is private. Anyone can post ambition online, but words spoken to the crowd are cheap. The real test is whether you can keep the vow you made when no one is there to hold you accountable but your own conscience. That is where character is forged, not in applause, but in solitude. Every empire begins with an unseen vow. Carnegie did not start as a titan of steel. He started as a poor immigrant boy with blistered hands, whispering to himself that poverty would not be his destiny. Walt Disney was not always a legend. He was once a bankrupt artist, sleeping on floors, sketching mice in the dark, telling himself that one day the world would believe in his vision. Their declarations were not made on stages. They were carved into their souls in silence. Midnight is when illusions die. In daylight, you can distract yourself with excuses. Too busy, too tired, too unlucky. But when the world is quiet, you know the truth. You know whether you are giving your best or just surviving. You know whether you are pursuing your dream or postponing it for some day. And you know deep down that someday never comes. Only today exists. Only this moment, right now, with the clock ticking in the silence of midnight. And here is the paradox. The midnight declaration feels small, just a whisper, just a thought, just a private decision in the darkness, but it is not small. It is everything. Because the course of your life changes not in the spotlight, but in these invisible moments of decision. When no one claps, when no one knows, when it is only you versus you. That is when destiny listens most closely. The Midnight Declaration is the opposite of comfort. It does not allow you to keep lying to yourself. It demands that you confront the brutal truth. Are you living with purpose, or are you wasting your days? Are you building, or are you drifting? Are you conquering fear, or are you letting fear quietly conquer you? It is in midnight silence that discipline is born. Not the discipline others see, not the polished performance, but the discipline of choice. The choice to wake up early when no one will applaud you. The choice to read when no one will reward you. The choice to study, to train, to write, to work, to sacrifice. When no one is looking, when no one is clapping, when no one is paying attention. That is the Midnight Declaration in motion. Do you understand how powerful this is? History belongs to those who dared to keep promises that no one else even knew they made. Think of Henry Ford, ridiculed by newspapers, mocked by experts, told that the automobile would never replace the horse. Do you think he succeeded because of what the world told him? Number. He succeeded because of the promises he made to himself, in the solitude of doubt. He declared in silence that he would not stop until every working man could afford a car. And he kept that vow. Your life will be defined by the vows you make in private, not the ones you announce, but the ones you keep. Not the promises shouted to others, but the ones whispered in silence, at midnight, when no one is watching. Those vows will determine whether you live as a spectator or as a creator, whether you fade into obscurity or rise into legacy. So the question is not, what will you do tomorrow? The question is, what will you declare tonight? What promise will you etch into your soul before you close your eyes? Will you promise to stop living small? Will you promise to stop betraying your potential? Will you promise to fight, to build, to rise, no matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it feels? Because the truth is this: the Midnight Declaration is not made once. It must be renewed, again and again. Each night, when the silence comes, when the world goes quiet, you will be faced with yourself again. And you must choose to keep that promise or break it. And every choice builds your future. Understand this: there is nothing more powerful than a human being who keeps promises to themselves. The world bends for such a person. Opportunities appear. Doors open. People feel the force of your conviction, because conviction has weight. It is heavier than words, stronger than appearances. It is forged in those secret midnights when you swore to yourself that you would not quit. And perhaps that is why so few achieve greatness. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, but because they broke too many promises to themselves in silence. They said they would change, but they didn't. They said they would rise, but they slept. They said they would fight, but they surrendered to comfort. But not you, not anymore. Tonight, as you listen, you know something is stirring in your chest. A restlessness, a fire, a hunger that refuses to be silenced. That is your soul, demanding a new vow. That is your spirit urging you to declare something greater. And so, in this midnight hour, declare it. Speak it to yourself, not for applause, not for recognition, but because you will not betray your future any longer. Promise yourself you will rise. Promise yourself you will fight. Promise yourself you will walk into fear, into pain, into discipline, into sacrifice. Promise yourself that you will not stop until your life reflects the greatness burning inside you. This is your midnight declaration. And if you keep it, the world will never be the same.